Hi, I'm Rob, and in this Gems of War video, I'll be showing you the scoring system and my team for this Something Impressive World Event. This is Darth Vader's event, I think. Something Impressive. I think he wants to open something impressive for Christmas, so we can open it and say, impressive, most impressive, when he opens it. If you haven't seen Star Wars, that will be utterly lost on you, but presuming most people have seen Star Wars. Anyway, on to this event itself. There are 6 battles that you can encounter during this event. Gate of Souls, Hellcat, Irenaeus, Dark Monolith, Infernal King and Ab Initio. And the event has 3 phases. Phase 1, the first 3 battles are the only available battles to play and have an equal chance of appearing. You will need to battle 15 battles here to progress to Phase 2. Phase 2, the first 5 battles are the only available battles to play and have again an equal chance of appearing. You will need to win another 15 battles here to progress to Phase 3. Phase 3, all 6 battles are now available with an equal chance of appearing. The phase continues until the end of the event. Now onto the scoring. The Gate of Souls gives you 4 Hailstones, Hellcat 5 Hailstones, Irenaeus 6 Hailstones, Dark Monolith 7 Hailstones, Infernal King 8 Hailstones, and Ab Initio also 8 Hailstones. Each Hailstone is worth 6 points, and as battles against Ab Initio get harder, they will increase the amount of Hailstones they give by 25%. So let's take a look at what team I'm going to use for this. By the way, always grab your rewards straight away if you can from the rewards section. There we go, we've got a Token of Darkness. And as we see when we evolve it, it's evolved to a Badge of Darkness. What this does is 40% spell damage for all troops in the current event. So our team, we want to use spells for this over skulls, if possible. And eventually that badge will evolve into a Medal of Darkness, which is super cool. Alright, from tier 1, if you've got the gems, thoroughly worth spending 30 gems. On tier 1, you get a Potion of Enchantment, so all your troops are going to start enchanted at the start of each and every round, but only for this event. And you get other stuff as well. More tokens, troops, gold, event sigils, shards, and more as we go on. All super cool. Right, onto the team itself. Team I've got here is Chalcedony, Obsidian, Libram, Obsidiaxis, and Obsidiaxis. I'll show how to change this team around a bit if you don't have 2 of these or you're missing somebody. But in a Geomancer class for this, absolutely essential for this class. The way this whole team works is built around a Geomancer and is going to just be an absolute walk in the park. I can absolutely tell you that for nothing. Obsidiaxis deals magic-based damage to all enemies, boosted by Gargoyle Gems and Stone Blocks. So there's a good amount of damage, but it does get boosted by Gargoyle Gems and Stone Blocks. And if you have that third trait, there's a 30% chance to create an evil Gargoyle Gem when my turn begins. So with 2 of these, that's going to become 2 chances of that. Now when you explode those Gargoyle Gems, they inflict negative status effects on the enemy, which is super useful in these kind of events. And we're doubling up on that, so that is really effective. So we need to have a way of exploding gems. If you create Gargoyle Gems and things like that, there's no point if you can't actually explode them. Otherwise, you're just going to wait for the enemy to do a similar sort of thing, and they will put all those status effects onto you, which you absolutely don't want. So for this reason, you're going to want a explodey weapon, as I call them. In this case, I absolutely love the Obsidian Libram. Explodes magic +1 gems, then summons a Obsidian Depths troop. And because we're in Geomancer class, all constructs start with 50% mana. And we're going to have Impact. Inflict stun when enemies deal skull damage to me. Well read. Gain 3 magic if using a tome, which we are really good if you're a newer player. Anti-magic sphere. Reduce damage from spells by 20%. Tactician. Gain 3 magic at the start. Again, really useful if you're new. Rock Solid. Gain a barrier when matching brown gems, which we're going to be matching brown gems all the time. You're just going to have a barrier non-stop with this. Fortitude, immune to stun, poison, disease, death mark, lycanthropy, and devour. And I've got to change my medals because there's absolutely no need for a Medal of Anu because all our troops start with a 50% mana. So actually I'll pop the medal event in when that tells me to, so I'll just do it then. So the way this team is going to work, we have a Chalcedony. deals damage to an enemy, then create 3 brown gems boosted by all construct allies. Reduce damage from scars by 50% is pretty cool, but the way she can loop when you've got all construct allies is kind of crazy. It just creates so many brown, it just charges up the team, gets an extra turn, and lets you do it again. Now, I've only got Chalcedony in first place because it's going to be really easy for the early stages. For ultimate safety, you want to swap these two around. You can have Obsidian Libram up top because obviously you get the barrier every single time we get a brown, which is really cool. You're going to be really, really safe in first place. It just is a little bit quicker in the early stages to have a Chalcedony up top because she'll charge up our main damage dealers really quickly. And the cool thing is you can do damage with these. The damage will go up as the event goes on when you upgrade the token to a badge and then the badge to a medal. So you're going to do more damage as the event goes on. It will get actually easier as we go on. And then you can actually use the extra turns that Chalcedony creates and the damage she does to actually just finish off lingering opponents. So that is the way it's going to work. The banner for this, I'm going to go for +2 brown, +1 purple, -1 green cavernous banner. All right, so let's dive in. Oh no, didn't explain what to do if you didn't have some of these. Right, if you don't have 2 Obsidiaxis, I would either chuck in a second Chalcedony because you can charge up your Obsidiaxis with the Chalcedony really easy, and because they're going to start enchanted and start with 50% mana, that's going to happen really, really quickly. If you don't have 2 Chalcedonies, I'd maybe chuck in a Zernabog. Creates 10 brown gems and explodes gems, making sure you pick up any of those gargoyle gems which your Obsidiaxis creates, and also conjures a dust storm when its turn begins, which is the start of every single round, and that is brown. So you're just going to get a constant amount of brown with this here. It's going to be really cool. Another cool troop to consider is Craghound. Deals damage to 2 random enemies and creates 3 evil gargoyle gems. So again, provided you got your exploded weapon, you are going to get a huge amount of gargoyle gems with this team. Right, onto the battles themselves. So there we go. We'll say yes, and we want to swap out with that Medal of Anu because we absolutely do not need that. Badge of Darkness, that will do. To battle. So early stages, any brown, any yellow is going to get Chalcedony up really, really fast. And you can either loop with her or cast Obsidian Libram to charge up our other team. Watch how many brown this creates. Absolutely crazy. And you can loop with her. Eventually Obsidiaxis will get up. It will happen quicker than that, and that does damage to all. I mean, you can even put Obsidiaxis to the top for these first early stages. It's going to be really easy on the early stages. If you're a newer player, of course, you have to err on the side of caution. Maybe put the hero up top still. Make sure you get that barrier every single time. Get the Battle Raven. That gives you more battles. Obsidiaxis is up. And damage. 6 Hellstones. Should have done Irenes then, really. Didn't need to do that. But Chalcedony is going to loop and loop, but you don't need to loop for the sake of looping. There's no point collecting that. If you're going to cast Chalcedony again, the more brown you leave behind, the better chance you have of her spell creating a 4-match and continuing. 51 damage to all enemies. Boost is 6. That'd be 57, which is enough. If you want to continue the turn, if your Obsidiaxis is not powerful enough to wipe out the enemies in a single go, you can choose to cast with Chalcedony instead. That is going to give you a very high chance of an extra turn. This is going to be a bit slower because you obviously have to cast again every single time. On those slightly longer games, when you're going to get some gargoyle gems appearing, we haven't actually had any appear yet of any note. But in your time you're casting with your Obsidian Libram to make sure you pick up all of those. Oh, I've done the wrong one again. Irenes. All of those gargoyle gems on the board, particularly if the enemy has a way of exploding gems too. But you don't want them getting those lovely evil gargoyle gems. Lovely and evil at the same time. A rare non-loop from Charles Donny. So yeah, this is going to be really, really straightforward. More event sigils. There's a gargoyle gem there. So I mean, now if you keep an eye on this gargoyle gem and the one at the top, it will, if I cast my Obsidian Libram, you'll see the enemy get a load of status effects. They'll get 2 lots. Not that we need it because we're going to win anyway, but really useful if you want to have some fun with the game. Cast your Obsidian Accesses back to back. Or Charles Donny, whatever takes your fancy. So I've jumped forward a little bit, and yeah, the team is still flying along really easily. All I've done is I put Obsidian Libram up top. My Charles Donny didn't die or come anywhere near it, but it's probably a safer tactic, especially if you're a newer player, because you are going to be picking up that barrier every single time you collect brown with that rock solid. And it means you can cast that and just charge up the whole team nice and fast. Charles Donny is ready. You can cast it on anyone you like. If the Valraven appears, that's a really handy thing. You can cast it on that first. Make sure you soften it up and then finish them off with your Obsidian Access. Let's do the higher one, 87. Yeah, and as you progress through and you get those medals with your guild, you're going to find this just, it doesn't really get any harder, to be honest. It's just going to be kind of the same. Let's cast our Libram because we're going to benefit from this gargoyle gem. There you go, someone got a status effect each. You can loop with a Charles Donny, you can cast it on somebody who's about to die, cast Obsidian Access, and cast Obsidian Access again. The job's done. Dark Monolith. It's going to be unhappy Monolith after this. Team's charged up already. We can loop with a Charles Donny. You can cast that. You're going to get an extra turn, probably 9 times out of 10. Again, here, if you're a newer player and you don't want to give the enemy a chance, you can just loop with Charles Donny if you like. Or you can cast your Obsidian Access, whichever you prefer. Like I say, Charles Donny is so good at looping when you've got all constructs in your team. That is really important. And we're out. We're out again. So there we go. That's the team, but it's going to work really easy. Just keep evolving that badge into a medal and you'll just find this an absolute piece of cake. Chuck the weapon up top if you want to benefit from the barrier on a regular basis and protect the rest of your team. Loop with Charles Donny to your heart's content and soften them all up first with Charles Donny if you're a newer player, and then cast with Obsidian Access to finish them off. Well, there's the video, there's the team. I'll be back later on for my Crinklemas, whatever it was called. What was it called? Yeah, Crinklemas. For the Crinklemas holiday event, I'll be back later on to show my team for that. But thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye for now.